Good morning and welcome to the Meltdown. Folks, I hope you're having a great day. The weather's a little bit cloudy here in the Houston area. But folks, there's a lot that's been going on, and frankly, I think it's time to talk more about what's going on in the economy than, quote, the equities markets, the bubble markets of art, real estate. Bottom line is that this is a show that focuses in on diversification, why it's important to get to a biblical commodity. The Bible talks excessively about the ownership of gold and silver, and every inference or reference back to money goes right back to the yellow metal, and of course, silver is a very important portion of our economy. Now, I know that's the case because there was a time when the strategic reserve held by the U.S. government was in excess of 10 billion ounces of silver. By today's standard, it's a huge amount of money, but the bottom line is that it is an industrial metal. It is important because all of the information that I'm going to share with you today, I document. I go to reliable sources, noteworthy people that are reporting information that I can bring to you in such a fashion that it ties to the reasons why I am so focused and do what I do. Now, it's a casual day around the office, and we're working on getting things cleaned up. I'm wearing a Tommy Bahama. I'm pretty kicked back today. But I want to talk about some of the things that are affecting us immediately. At dinner last night, I was able to share and fellowship what the economy and what the world is really about. It was a very entertaining conversation. The guest that I had is an MBA. I appreciate Annie and her time and being able to share with me. Now, the bottom line is that this morning's news stories really get pretty excessive, but when you consider that the Obama administration yesterday made a strong commitment to extend long-term unemployment insurance, it's major. For those items that are due to expire fairly quickly, the government identifies that there are over 1 million people that could be affected and lose their benefits between Christmas and New Year. So as we, quote, get into the bulk of the holiday season, the president, the administration, most of Congress does not want to see more people being affected in what could easily be another drop into a recession. Now, I'm going to tell you point blank, I believe we're right at the brink of going over the top again. And Annie, in her conversation, a Christian woman with an MBA sharing insight, really is a very important factor, and we've got to stay on the focus of what's going on. I talk excessively about the fact that the middle class was being squeezed out, and that's an affirmation that I got again last night. But this comment that came from the administration through Gene Sperling made it very clear that there will be an emergency extension of benefits. 1 million people are going to be affected. Now, you got to remember, the government works on a big balance sheet, and the fact that the balance sheet is so easily violated should be a concern. Now, I look at the price of gold and silver. I know you folks believe that and know that after all this time. And while I look at palladium and platinum both dropping 0.5% and about 0.75%, I look at gold and I looked at silver, and they were both up slightly during the trading day. Of course, the market's closed for the weekend. We're still at about a 10% premium platinum to gold. We're still trading about 62 ounces of silver to gold. Remember, things change a little when you get into the physical market. But folks, I looked at the Dow, it was up slightly. I looked at the NASDAQ, that was up slightly. The overseas markets, the Nikkei, the Shanghai, those markets saw growth of between 0.5% and 2%. And so this is the balance, the teetering that goes on in the equities markets. You might pick the right position to be in, or you might pick the wrong position to be in. And ultimately, your net worth, the value of your retirement, is always at stake. Now, for the day, the dollar traded down, and most of the currencies overseas were up as the dollar was losing value. Crude oil is still basically $94 a barrel, West Texas Intermediate, WTI. I'm concerned more about what's going to happen after the first of the year. We all know that Black Friday is coming. It's been estimated that 140 million people will be out on the streets trying to take advantage of Black Friday discounts. Of course, if you look online, it's already starting to take place. Several large retailers have announced it, their sales. And so for me to read and see what's going on, 140 million people, folks, represents almost half of the United States population. I have a hard time believing that. I have a hard time believing that 33 million people are going to be out shopping on Thanksgiving evening. I don't believe that either. That's over 10% of the population. Maybe it will and maybe it won't. And I remember over the last year or two, there was some serious ice storms and snowstorms and nor'easters and all the rest of that stuff. The bottom line is that when everybody else is flat-footed, that's when you're supposed to do business. And you need to get into the realm of doing business in such a fashion that you start to accumulate things rather quickly. Now, one of the stories that I caught wind of this morning was that Steve Forbes is contemplating the sale of Forbes itself. Now, I can tell you that the company was founded in 1917 by B.C. Forbes. It was then handed down to Malcolm Forbes, who in turn handed it down to Steve Forbes. So 3 family owners since 1917, not quite 100 years, but now there's a non-family member at the helm. And why would they consider liquidation at this point? Because they've seen a drop in the subscriber base, third largest magazine in the United States. The subscription rate, 933,000. But the advertisers are falling by the wayside. And so they're seeing a cut in revenue of almost 12%. The real concern is that print media is falling away. And I know that the Washington Post sold back in August for about $250 million, $250 million. And I know the Boston Globe was bought by the Boston Red Sox owner John Henry for $70 million. But a little over 20 years ago, the acquisition of the Boston Globe was at an expense of $1.1 billion. There's a loss in a portfolio. Folks, I understand markets go up and markets go down, and sometimes people overpay for commodities they shouldn't be involved in. Now, I can tell you that back in 08, 09, Tim Geithner was the Federal Reserve president in New York. And, of course, he was extremely involved in overseeing Wall Street, making sure that the Fed was in a position to monetize and watch the policies of the banking system. That was from 2003 to 2009. Well, in 2009, he became the Treasury Secretary and was very involved in TARP and the bailout of the banking system. Obviously, a pretty well-educated man. It appears that Tim Geithner has taken a job working and helping to manage Warburg Pincus. That's a 50-year-old firm managing in excess of $35 billion in assets. And so while Geithner comes out and says that he's found his job, and of course he handed over the realm to Jack Lew as the Treasury Secretary, there was no release of what his compensation package will look like. Why does all of this matter? Why does Brett Bogus care to share, and where's the economy going to go? Quantitative easing is a bad example of how you save the world's global system. And it's a major issue out there. Now, I talk about owning gold and silver as a diversification of your investment portfolio. I don't really care what your net worth is. It doesn't matter whether it's $1,000 or $100 million. If you're not moving major amounts of money into silver and gold, you're going to allow the opportunity to slip by. No, I think that we'll see a continued juggling act over the next year or two. I don't think the sky is falling today or tomorrow. It's never been my style to try to gloom and doom anybody. What it is, though, is it's an opportunity to see where markets are going to head, why people are acquiring different assets that they acquire. And as competition gets deeper and faster and better in the global economy, what are you doing? How are you setting yourself up? Now, I understand that as the economy worsens, people take advantage of other people, and whether it's out and out theft or whether or not it's just being frugal. You've got to be able to protect yourself from the unknown. Obviously, a theft issue is a real serious crime. You never know when people are going to strike, and whether that's at your home or your business, both, it could be so subtle that you just don't even know what's happening, and then one day you discover it. Well, that happens to a lot of folks. And so this is an opportunity to be able to squirrel away assets and not squirrel them away from the standpoint of being deceitful or lying about it. It's strictly a matter of protection. I remember in the 90s, most people wanted to make money. Well, as we started the 90s, it was about yield. How much risk did you have to incur to get the maximum amount of yield so that you could survive, live your lifestyle, go on about the things that you wanted to go about in? Whether it was taking advantage of providing a savings account for your heirs, the inheritance, estate protection, that's what people were looking to do, increase their net worth. Well, by the end of the 90s and the beginning of this millennium, people didn't want to lose any more money. They were afraid of what was happening. Now, I know a lot of dealers in the coin business that have gloomed and doomed for 25 or 30 years, and they were wrong the entire time. They never got it right. They were always incorrect. And so from my standpoint, my biggest concern out there is how are you diversifying your portfolio and protecting yourself? Now, I tend to like Morgan Silver dollars a great deal. And from the standpoint of loving Morgan Silver dollars, I want my clients to understand that this is an area of the market that when you're involved in it, you can protect yourself. And more people want it than don't want it. Now, from that standpoint, it's a great commodity. It's recognizable all over the world. And from all over the world, you look at what other people are willing to buy, sell, and trade in. And because they're willing to buy, sell, and trade, it allows the ability to barter all the time. That's the biggest concern that I have when I get into markets. Now, it's from that standpoint that I'm going to talk about protecting yourself. And if the coins are in low grade, low quality, low dollar premium, that's okay. It's fine. It's fine because the coins trade hands. And as long as the dealer that's willing to work with you will work on the low side of what the detail of a coin is. In other words, if you see a coin that sells for $32 at $34 and the dealer wants to charge you $34, that's what other dealers will pay for a coin. Gray sheets, the coin dealer newsletter, are what we reflect on. And when you have quantity, you can be competitive that way. You can acquire material at dealer prices. Now, there's the other realm, and that's owning coins that collectors want to own. The ones that will trade for the premiums, the one that helps get you into a liquid position and allows you the flexibility of ownership and gain. Now, there are premium quality coins, and I can tell you firsthand that you can see two 1881 San Francisco Morgan Silver dollars in Mint State 65. That's a coin that's about $150, $160. However, the same coin in the same graded holder, NGC or PCGS, doesn't matter, if the coin is extra attractive, if it's got a plus sign or a star, if it's got a CAC sticker, you can turn the $150 coin into $1,500 or $2,000. Heck, I've seen some of them sell for even more than that. And if there's toning on the coin and the toning is attractive, if there's greens, if there's reds or blues, if the colors are vibrant, you can see $3,000 coins in the same 1881 San Francisco Mint State 65 specimen. So my point in bringing it out is because you may look at a coin online and you can see two different coins that are identical by their date and grade, the mint mark, the grading company, and one sells for $150 or $60 and the other one sells for $1,500, it doesn't mean that the $1,500 coin is overpriced. It may be the better value down the road because there are clients that want just nice white coins and there are clients that prefer toned coins. And you're saying to me, Brett, what has that got to do with Steve Forbes? What has that got to do with any of what you've said so far? And when you get right down to it, do I really care about Tim Geithner? Probably not. You're probably just trying to figure out how to make ends meet right now. And so the conversation moves from Forbes to art over to Janet Yellen. And the fact that she was chastised for her attire is ridiculous. Now, I find it interesting that Ben Bernanke shops at an everyday clothier like most men. Okay? He doesn't have $1,500 suits. Well, maybe he does. He's just buying them from normal retailers. But Yellen took some serious criticism from two different Twitter accounts. One was Roll Call, the other one was Fishbowl DC. And the comments, quote, "Good thing the Fed chairman is only the most powerful position in the world and not a walk down the red carpet. Otherwise, we'd be worried." Because Yellen doesn't go out of her way to dress. The other, whether Janet Yellen, President Obama, his latest pick to head the Federal Reserve proves to be the financial genius our sputtering economy so desperately needs remains to be seen. At least we know her mind won't be preoccupied with haughty couture. That was the roll call post. Folks, I don't really care what Janet Yellen spends to clothe herself, okay? What I do care about is that the genius behind fixing our problems works. Ben Bernanke was considered to be very, very knowledgeable. He was named the Time Magazine Man of the Year in 2009, and ultimately it was a great recovery. Well, all we've done is created another bubble market, and I talked about that yesterday. Well, his predecessor, Alan Greenspan, and his predecessor, Paul Volcker, obviously wore suits and ties. It's not a matter of what they wear, it's a matter of what's up between their ears, and does it work or doesn't it work? Greenspan, who was considered much smarter than Paul Volcker or Ben Bernanke, admitted on Capitol Hill about 3.5 or 4 years ago that everything that he thought was flawed. It didn't work. And yet, here we are on a Saturday morning looking at where the Dow Jones closed at 15,961, another record. And don't think, because I've said this many times, we're going to get through 16,000. The market is a bubble, and people don't know where else to run. You run where the market is dead. And frankly, folks, people are thinking that gold and silver are going to bottom again. That's fine. You're approaching the cost of production. And if they can't produce it, the mining shares will lose value. That's why putting your money in an ETF is so wrought with disaster. You're not buying gold or silver when you buy one of those ETFs. And if you're in one of the mining share ETFs, you're not even doing that. You're trading in dollars, in paper. I want you to own physical metal, not because you may have to have it to barter with, but because it might be the most prudent thing you ever do, because if we can't keep up with the demand, the price will rise faster than you've ever seen. I worry about demand. And I know that while wealth is growing, 1% of the population in the United States controls 20% of the wealth. I know that there's a banking institution up in the Northeast that's running TV commercials claiming that they've got 20% of the world's assets tied up. 20%. If the bank is over leveraged, if the collateral loses value, there's margin calls. And if the people can't make the margin calls, then you have a total collapse of the global economy because we're all tied at the hip. I love Morgan and Peace dollars. I love half cents. I love large cents. Coins that were minted in the late 1700s, early 1800s. They appeal to me a great deal. Thousands of dollars per coin. And ultimately, people are trying to figure out what gold to buy and what silver, how to get it into the cheapest form, and what you are not getting the full story on is the reporting requirements. You're not getting the information as to what the real spreads are when the market drops. You're only looking at the lowest premium and not considering the upside of the higher premiums. Folks, there have been multi-million-dollar sales in the coin business this year. And with billions of items floating around in the system, the dealer community gets on the Certified Coin Exchange, CCE, and can put bids up. So the material is always liquid. Now, liquidity isn't to be confused with maximizing at an auction. And frankly, it's from that standpoint that it depends what you've got to work with. Now, if you're looking for some sit-down advice, you can come park yourself. We'll go through some coins. We'll lay out some scenarios. I'll make this clear, concise, and logical so that there's no confusion as to what I want to accomplish in your portfolio or anybody else's portfolio. It's as simple as dialing 281-548-2646. That's 281-548-2646. Hit option 0, leave a message. I'll return the call, or Kelly or Michael will return the call. We'll set up an appointment time where you can come in, sit, and get a real understanding of what's going on. Now, if you're listening outside of the Houston market, 877-705-2646. That's 877-705-2646. Again, hit 0. That's the option when you get prompted into the phone system. Leave a message if it's necessary. If not, we'll take your call. We'll tell you if we're available. We can talk. We can start laying out the program. But don't be misconstrued. Don't get caught up talking to an online auction company or e-chatting. Look for somebody who maybe has a lot of transactions if that's what you're really hoping to accomplish. But frankly, folks, whether you're buying, selling, or trading, I'll help make a market in it. And for all of the scuttlebutt and all the concern that floats around in the system, don't be misled by the dealers that are trying to scare you to buy coins or get involved in precious metals. This is a clear, concise, and logical approach to diversification of your portfolio. And like I said, you probably have real estate or jewelry or other assets that you're looking to move things around in. This is the time that you jot down some notes. I've got over 500 shows that I've been doing for the last several years. I started in March of 2011. That's when it became really serious. I'd already started radio, but I had to lay back for about 6 weeks when my son Jason was in the hospital. And so to start to break up some of that concern, I'd get out for an hour or so and I was on air. And now podcasting seems to be a lot easier. It's a lot fresher. No, we're doing more to get our name out there so people can find us again after having been over the radio air. But folks, this is a different way of doing things. And if you've got questions or concerns or comments, please email me anytime. That's Brett, B-R-E-T-T, at The Gold Exchange. Some call it The Gold Exchange, T-H-E, The Gold Exchange, EXCHANGE.net. You can email me, you can fax me, that's 281-548 1535. I get people who drive from all over the community. I've got clients that are north of Huntsville, that have come over from out of state, certainly further east than Beaumont. And ultimately, folks, this is a time to make a plan, follow through with the plan, put your foot down, help people out. That's how this all works. Now, I do want to take a moment and I want to thank the city of San Francisco for helping out Bat Kid. What a beautiful turnout. What a great city. I don't have a lot of experience in San Francisco, although I've been there a couple of times. And God love you people for what you did. Thank you for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Anytime you can help children, it's a real blessing, and I appreciate it so much. Now, folks, I never want to get off air without thanking Texas Children's Hospital, both the Downs Clinic and the Ronald McDonald House. Most of you know my son Jason has very mild Downs, and the Meyer Center has moved off of the campus at Fannin, a little bit south, but Dr. Ostermeyer and her staff spend so much time with the children in assessment and helping them out. If you're looking for an organization to tithe or make an offering to, please go to themeltdown.com, click on the donation link. Please, the information is totally anonymous. You will not be solicited by this organization or company or this person individually. I appreciate it. The Ronald McDonald House has 20 rooms on the 4th floor at Texas Children's, and it allows family members to be able to get some casual rest, watch some TV, have a hot meal. Folks, if you can provide a hot meal for between, say, 30 and 50 people, please call 832-824-8600. That's 832-824-8600. Click on the meltdown.com's donation link. The funds will be appropriated accordingly. I appreciate the doctors, the nurses, the staff, and the volunteers at Texas Children's throughout the medical center and throughout the world, because kids need our love and support. I appreciate you for listening. Please listen to some of the other shows. Jot down questions. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday morning. God bless you and have a great day.